What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, keeping you updated on all the latest at WWE 2K22. We got some more news to discuss, round up all of the recent releases and the possibilities of them making it into WWE 2K22. Some extra details to keep in mind that could lead into some of these superstars actually making it into the roster. And we are also discussing some of the exciting new additions that we should be getting in the roster. So some bad and some good. Before we get into it, make sure that you guys hit those notifications to continue being up to date on all the latest WWE 2K22 news. And if you want even more WWE 2K videos, check out the second channel. Starting off with two of the superstars that probably got the most chances of making it to the game, and two of the most shocking releases, that being Samoa Joe and Mickie James. It's pretty obvious that Samoa Joe is not done just yet. He's gonna show up somewhere else. Maybe he will go back to Impact Wrestling. Bigger chances that he will end up on AEW. And if that ends up being the case, it feels like that's gonna be an automatic removal no matter what. The big hope that we got for Samoa Joe when it comes to making it into WWE 2K22 is that maybe he was a big part of this upcoming year's My Career, much like he was in WWE 2K20. Now personally, I would love for them to just give us a brand new storyline, but if they're going to continue something like they have done in the past, as we got to see many things carry over from WWE 2K19 to 2K20, Samoa Joe was one of the main villains in there. He was even Universal Champion and even got himself a bionic arm. 2K actually made him look like a legit beast, and come to think about it, it was probably the best thing that we got to see in My Career. So again, if he is being included in My Career stuff this year, maybe 2K can work it out with WWE and try to convince them that they need him in the game, because otherwise that will be a lot of things that they will need to change already. This could be a case sort of like CM Punk from WWE 2K15, where they already had so much work related to CM Punk. Even though CM Punk left in January of that year, they had no choice but to include him in there, because otherwise the 2K Showcase mode would have been cut in half, and all of that work that 2K put in would have been gone. Also, let's not forget the fact that during the Royal Rumble week, there were reports indicating that WWE 2K was getting voiceovers from many of the roster members, which, as we speculated, is probably had to do with My Career stuff, as that is the only thing that use actual voiceovers in the game. For Mickie James, she is the legends in this group of release superstars that probably has the best chance of making it. Again, simply because she could be part of the Legends roster, and even if she shows up in another company, she could still be in there included, and it wouldn't be that shocking. Could be a similar case like Chris Jericho, who left WWE and still remain a part of the game for a couple of years after. That of course changed as soon as he signed with AEW, because WWE clearly takes that serious. Now of course there is the WWE 2K Battlegrounds possibility, which we will talk in a bit, but continuing with these releases, anyone besides Samoa Joe and Mickie James, because of their previous status and affiliation, really feel like they have no chance of making it, or the possibility of it are just extremely slim. For the Iconic, I see them going elsewhere and making an impact, and then returning to the WWE years after, but that's gonna be down the line. Both of them are extremely talented, so without a doubt, as soon as their 90-day non-compete clause is done, I feel like they're gonna show up, and it's likely gonna be AEW. Let's be honest, AEW needs a lot of help with the women's division, much like WWE too, but nonetheless they're releasing people. And let's not forget, Peyton Royce's husband is part of AEW too. So again, it's gonna come down to a situation where they're approving the roster, and they're probably gonna be looking at it and saying like, okay, this person is on AEW, well, remove them from the game, even if they are already in it and they're ready to go. For the other superstars, Mojo Rawley, Kalisto, Bo Dallas, Tucker, Wesley Blake, Chelsea Green, the disappointing thing about all of them is that WWE didn't book them as much. They weren't on television as much, if anything, over the last 2 years. Look at Bo Dallas, for example, probably the most talented guy in this list. When it comes to charisma, you could give this guy anything and he made it work, but he hasn't been used on television since late 20 2019. A removal of these superstars is extremely likely, and that is a chunk of superstars already being added into the remove list of WWE 2K22. Now, of course, the biggest hope that we have in regards to all of this is when we look at WWE 2K Battlegrounds. And trust me guys, I did not forget. I know that a lot of superstars ended up making it into 2K Battlegrounds, even as DLC, even after they were released from WWE on the same date last year. But it is hard to go by what we got to see in that game, because the WWE 2K Simulation series has been way harder when it comes to releases. On previous years, superstars could have gotten released 1 month before and they literally would have locked it. That superstar would have remained on the game file, but we would never get to see them because at the end WWE didn't approve it, so 2K had no choice but to hide those superstars, or quote unquote remove them from the game before it came out. Why was WWE 2K Battlegrounds different when it comes to the roster? I really don't know. Maybe 2K Games got a brand new way to communicate with WWE now when it comes to the roster, and maybe it's a bit easier than it used to be in previous years. And if that is the case, that will be great. That means that the roster can end up being even better, but it could also be the case that 2K Battlegrounds had a different type of deal and they weren't as linear as the simulation game, because it was an arcade style type of game, and of course they had to cancel WWE 2K21, so removing a lot of superstars that were already worked on would have been a loss to an already limited roster. There's definitely different factors to keep in mind, but again, this year we're really gonna find out if WWE 2K has a bit more leeway when it comes to the roster, or if WWE going to continue to put that extra restriction like they have in previous simulation versions of the game. Switching it over to some positives, and that is some new additions to the game that I am hoping to see and return to the series, and we covered this before already. Those are of course the superstars that were inducted into this year's Hall of Fame, many of which already been in the game, like Molly Holly, Kane, and so on. But there's some really good additions and returns that we should be seeing if of course they follow like they have in previous years, where the Hall of Fame inductees get to be in that year's game. This year we could be seeing the return, the Great Khali, who we last got to see in WWE 2K15, JBL, who was last part of WWE 2K18 roster, Eric Bischoff, who we haven't seen in a WWE game in quite a while. Getting him as a general manager will be kind of cool, and even as a wrestler, because he did have a couple of matches before, even against Vince McMahon. The British Bulldog making a return from WWE 2K19, Justin Thunder Liger, who will be an amazing new addition, and saving the main event for last is of course one of the fans' favorite, and that is Rob Van Dam. RBD being back in a WWE game just sounds amazing. Always one of the favorites to play as because of his great moveset, so making a return from WWE 2K18 would definitely be a 5-star rating. I of course hope that WWE games end up adding even more unexpected names in there. Let me know which ones you would like to see down in the comments below, and we will definitely come up with a list for it. Anyways guys, that is all the latest, my thoughts on it, on these potential removed superstar from WWE 2K22. To continue being up to date, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit those notifications. I'll catch you on the next one, so stay savage.